So SAP UI5 is the topic which we are going to talk about, and I planned this session for 5 days. Uh, maybe when I say 5 days, it's for the training. Maybe the practice and hands-on can be, it can have infinite days. So the way I have planned it,
Okay.
it's to be 2 halves in a day. So, since we have restrictions to meetings by Zoom, it may be a 40-minute session first, and we'll have a 10
Mhm.
to 15 minutes of break, and then again a 40-minute session later. So such a session will be, you have to join the same
Okay.
meeting ID, which we have joined now. And such a session would be uh, there till 5 days. Okay. So beginning, when I say SAP
Okay.
UI5, before that, I need to be very much sure that the basics or the prerequisites are covered. Okay.
Mhm.
So it may take a lot of time for us to, grab a person from IT can grab it easily, whereas a person from, a non-IT background may take some time to grab these concepts. Um, Day one, I have written prerequisites and HTML and XML. Uh, Something about the 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 the, the presenter or the speaker. Myself, Kumar Gangwani, and I have 5 years of experience by now in IT industries and different firms I have been worked. Skill sets, I hope the skills of SAP MII, that's a middleware, and UI5, that's front end. So these are the solutions that I have provided in my experience, in the 5 years. So experiences have been in the manufacturing and the packaging and printing. So different sectors of industries which I have been working with is home appliances, oil, nuclear, and the recent client of mine is in beverages. So manufacturing, when we say we are onto shop floor where the production or the manufacturing is going on, at that time there is, there are multiple shop floor systems. After that, these shop floors are to be, connected with the end user. So uh, there has to be some backend, there has to be some middleware, and there has to be some front end. SAP itself is the end-to-end solution provider. I mean, you really don't need to hunt for any solutions outside. Shop floor systems may be of different companies, but then when I say about SAP, it itself has the backend ECC. It has the middleware MII. There are other integration tools such as PI as well available in SAP. And when we are talking about, I mean, this session, we don't talk much about the backend and the middleware. This is about SAP UI5. So as the name indicates, UI stands for user interface. And why the 5 comes, 5 stands for HTML5 based development toolkit. So HTML has different versions, I would say. The basic HTML where we learned a body, a tag, and all those stuff. That was a very basic one. Then as soon as HTML security standards and other things, you run an HTML file in a browser, right? So as as and when it got upgraded, the versions got changed. And SAP UI5 is based on HTML5 based. So while you were upgrading, you saw MarQE and other stuffs in HTML, wherein the text just, it goes on round. So the basic UI layout, you must have already known. An IT person would already know, at least by looking at the HTML file, he understands that what is there inside that. So when it comes to UI5, it is, it gives you, uh, you know, I mean, how I would say, it gives you a free hand to uh, modify your application based on the model view controller. I'll be repeating this word, model view controller, again and again till the last date, unless it is clear, because MVC architecture is something that is the base of UI5. So model view controller at the end, when the user wants, I don't want to see this on screen, let's say, you do not need to, hamper the entire code base that you have made. So if there are changes in data, you have to modify model. If there are changes in the view, you have to change the view. And when there are the changes in a particular functions or the control, how the user does it, then you need to change the controller. So UI5 gives an ease, I would say, that you you can change what the user needs at the end in a very simpler way. It is user friendly, the app. And again, it depends on developer how he tries to develop the more user friendly app he can. So by utilizing the theory above, SAP UI5 are responsive across browsers and devices. When I say responsive, many apps we create and then they get crashed. Many a times it happens. Chrome is not responding. So UI5 across devices. So it runs on smartphones, tablets, desktops, and various other stuff. So iPad and iOS, many other things. So for this training perspective, we will be restricting our learning to building desktop apps, but then the same apps can be adapted to mobile. I mean, there is a way where we can do it. Okay, I can show you as well some other time. But for now, when we are starting to build the UI5 app, we will be restricting our knowledge. I mean, the first build is always checked on laptop or desktop. Okay, later maybe we can move it to M app or the mobile app, and then we can check it on the mobile as well. Okay, latest UI5 version on the that is available as on 12th December 2020. This keeps on changing up. So there is this link. I would be giving this PPTs handouts to you, okay, at the end of the session. So you can click on this link and you can see the version overview for the UI5, which is the latest one, which is in place, and what you say, what are the upcoming versions, which are supported on the cloud platform, which are not, and so on. So that's about UI5. And then when I say prerequisites for learning UI5, we need to take care of two things. So today is our first session. In the next session, maybe when I will be giving you some, I'll be giving you some assignments, home assignments, homeworks, or some other hands-on. Then these are the prerequisite softwares which we will be needing. Okay, the number one is Notepad++, and second is SAP Web IDE trial account. So you see,
Okay.
there are two ways, indeed not two ways, there are many ways. When I say I am from a middleware background, I have worked closely in middleware, that's SAP MII. SAP MII itself offers to place your web code in the web catalog. I mean, on the workbench. But then, what if you are not from a UI5, you are not from a MII background? Suppose a person wants who is just stick to UI5. A front-end developer may or may not belong to a middleware skill set, right? So at that time, people use Eclipse software to deploy their apps, or some of them, they just work with Notepad++. It's damn simple. They use it there, and then they try to deploy it on Angular. I mean, which is that website? I'm not able to get it. I mean, there is one website where you can deploy your web apps. So they do it in that way. Otherwise, we have SAP Web IDE, Integrated Development Environment. So in the moving sessions further, we have this agenda, how to create a Web IDE account for all of us. Okay. About web method
Okay.
languages, we will be covering HTML, XML, JavaScript, JSON, and CSS. So these five are very basic that a person should be knowing before knowing UI5. Because as and when we start coding and then we don't understand what these concepts are, then it's going to be difficult for us to learn any front-end skill. So what basically UI5 has done, or SAP has done for this, you belong to HTML background, you belong to XML background, you belong to JavaScript, or you have worked with JSON data models, or you are a CSS expert. CSS beautifies your app. So the basic web method languages, UI5 integrated it all together and brought it in a form of package for you. They have their own libraries. SAP UI5 has its own libraries created. When I say libraries, what code should look like what. So all that, hard work and efforts is being done by SAP. Now UI5 has become a product of that hard work. The end product is to us. So all we need to do is use the libraries from the online portal, or you can download those libraries and keep it with you, and you can use it anytime. Like environments, as I explained, environments like middleware, you can simply import the libraries to the web part of that, and you can start using it from there. So libraries are purely written in JavaScript. The UI5 libraries are purely written in JavaScript. Using it, how to use it, how to work with HTML, XML, JavaScript is the next agenda. For now, let's try to focus on a few web method languages at the beginning. So when I say HTML, I guess that's going to be my next slide. Perfect. HTML introduction. It's a very basic thing. I don't need to, an IT folk would already know this. You start declaring an HTML file. I mean, the HTML file latest, you used to write only HTML at the beginning when it was HTML4 or HTML, the older one. Right now, when you try to declare an HTML file, I mean, the code piece, when you write it like this, exclamation doc type HTML. It says that I am HTML5. This statement itself says that I am HTML5. So, then you may have the HTML tag in it. Then you have the body. Then you have the script. Now we need to stop here and understand for 2 minutes, what all is to be there. And HTML, I mean, I have missed to put the full form here, I guess. Okay. Markup language, like it's some of the markup language wherein when I say HTML and ends with /HTML, you see my line number 2, the HTML document itself begins with HTML and ends with /HTML. So whatever code piece you will write, you are going to write it within this HTML and end HTML. Then there is something known as body. So body is the visible part of the HTML document. Whatever you write in body, it may be a button or it may be any damn thing. When you place it at body, it will be visible on the HTML file on your run. Okay. Then there is something known as script. So script is nothing but the actual coding part. What happens when I click on a button? What happens when I click on the input box? What happens when I submit? All those stuff is there in the script tag. So when I say the HTML, the body, and the script part, this itself indicates the body is the view part and the script is the control part, and data model is not there here because it's a single HTML file. So the same concept UI5 has extended it. When we will go forward, we will understand what actually is model, what actually is view, and what actually is controller for UI5. I'm talking about a very basic HTML. Suppose that I don't want to go into MVC architecture. I can also, what do you say, run a UI5 app using a single .html file as well. How do you do it? That will be there in our next sessions. So you don't need to really have a different model. You don't need to really have a different view and a controller. You see, it's simple. You can run your UI5 app in a basic HTML file. You can create it on your desktop and try to see how UI5 looks. So that's why I was, focusing on this, the visible part and the coding part. When I say visible part, so when you are creating a button, that is to be placed in the body. When you are creating what is to be done on that button, you are actually writing it under the script. Okay, script will have the controlling functions and the body will have the visible part. So this is how a new HTML looks like. Okay, so before actually jumping into the UI5, here is what a small exercise about HTML. What it says: open a new text document on your desktop, put the below piece of code in it, and then save it as abc.html or whatever you want it, and run it in the browser. So what it says, hyphen doc type HTML says that I am HTML5. Then there is HTML and there is body. Body consists of header, and paragraph. H1 stands for heading. So it says my first heading, and P stands for my first paragraph. There is a difference between a heading and paragraph, definitely. H1 is bold, H2 is less bold, H3 is less, more or less. Similarly, paragraph, it is a very big text body. Okay, trust me, this HTML exercise 1 is not going to be used anywhere when you start coding in UI5. This is just a basic of HTML that we should know before jumping into UI5. So let's try to do this exercise together. Okay, what it says. Let me copy this piece of code. So you see HTML, then the body. I have not yet worked on the script part. So that will be our next one. As I said, open a new text document and then write it as abc.html. Don't know if it will already take it. It's not taking it, still taking it as a text document. So it didn't, okay, I guess I've mentioned the steps. Save the file as. Okay, so what we'll do, save as. It's not just save, only save is not working here. So all files and maybe abc.html. When I save it, it will replace it. 1 minute. Save as all files aws.html. Okay, here it is. So we got this. Okay, aws.html. Now when I try to run it in a Chrome only, it will try to run. Okay, and UI5 again, whatever you want to see in UI5, the best is Chrome. UI5 says that if you want to do testing in the best debugging, it can be done always in Google Chrome, and it's a pain for a developer to work with IE for UI5. Okay, so it says my first heading and my first paragraph. That's how an HTML code will look like. Let me see if I can edit it. Sorry. Okay, so it says my first heading. Then you can also have something known as H2. So I tried it, I saved it, and let's see how it functions in the browser. I've changed it. Let's see how it functions here. So it says my first heading, my second heading. As I said, this will be bigger, this will be smaller, and then the paragraph can be as big as you want it. This is how a basic HTML coding can be done. I mean, anyone can do this. Anyone can practice this. Okay. So if I even try to make the paragraph more and more bigger, this is how a paragraph looks like. You see, just like a textbook. If you have seen any textbook or the book written by an author, this is how the paragraphs will look like. Then later, I guess I have yet another exercise that talks about the scripting. Let me just go to the full screen so that we are clear about what it is. I'm sorry. So it says HTML body, the header, button control. I've written it as button control. Then I have the paragraph. I have given that paragraph an ID, that's demo, and I write it as click me. And in that paragraph, I'm putting a button saying click me. On click, it is my function. Okay. And in the script part, you write what exactly is going to happen on the click of that function. So it says document.getElement by ID. Demo is like, basic thing which the ID which you have given to your paragraph. In this paragraph dot inner HTML, here you are going to put you clicked me. So in your paragraph, you are going to add the text you clicked me. Okay, on the click of that button. Let's see how it looks like in the page. Copy. Maybe I'll put it in the same place and then I'll save aws.html. Okay, so here now it is going to change a bit. So here it is saying that, button control. I don't know why it may be from PPT. It is taking all these smaller cases. You can also write it as this. Sometimes copy paste works weird. So it says button control. And when I write click me, the click me becomes you clicked me. So your paragraph, you're changing it to, this is the demo. This is your paragraph. Okay. It's inside the body. And this paragraph has the ID demo. In this, it was earlier written as click me, and then later you are replacing it as you clicked me. Otherwise, you can also put some other text, button pressed. Okay, or maybe you can blank it out at the very first place over here itself. So there is nothing here. Okay, uh, I have to remove it from here, not here. I have to blank out the paragraph. Okay, let's see how it is. So it says click me. So the button pressed. You see, either you could have kept the text very much nothing, or like this. I first kept it click me, and then later when I click the button, it shows button pressed. So this is what I was talking about. Your body is going to have your header or the paragraph or whatever you want to see, a button. Whereas script is going to have the functions, what happens when you click on that button. This is about, a very basic, I would say very basic HTML. And then I guess we have nothing much left, maybe we can try to understand XML as well. And let's see how the time permits. I don't know when did we start on this. If I guess we started at 10:35. Okay, we have just 25 minutes. So let's try to finish XML as well, and then maybe later we can proceed on to the assignments and doubts if any. And XML, when I say it doesn't has much of assignments, it's just about design. You should know how to write XML. Now, what is XML? Extensible markup language. It's much like an HTML. When I say much like HTML, it has opening and closing tags similar to HTML. Then it is said XML was designed earlier to store and transport data. Okay. When I say transport data, an IT person would understand this. Most of the data which is coming from the backend, like say SAP ECC to MII middleware, or from MII middleware to any third-party system, or to even to UI5 when it comes, most of the data is in the form of XML. When I say transporting the data, so the communication between the systems is done by XML. Originally, it was designed to transport the data, but then UI5, how it uses it. It is using it for, what do you say? It is using it for mostly view, for designing the view part. Okay. I mean, from XML perspective, see, I won't jump into UI5 very fast. Otherwise, it's going to be, I can relate it, but then unless I use this XML in UI5, you won't understand what is it for. For now, let's not jump into UI5. Let's now try to understand what is required from UI5 perspective in terms of XML. So XML, we need to take care that all the opening tags are closed as well, so that the XML is well formed. An unformed or the erroneous XML cannot be used and will give syntax error. Okay. So that's the only assignment, I mean, it's a very simple one. I have given a sample XML in front of you. The starting of the XML is always like this. Question mark XML version is equal to 1.0 encoding UTF-8. Then you have an opening tag bookstore. This is your main parent node. Then you have book. So the bookstore consists of many books. Like the example taken is of bookstore. You can see many such examples on W3 schools. Why we have taken this example of bookstore? Because it explains a bookstore is the parent. I mean, the bookstore is the main bookstore, which consists of many books in it. Here I have tried to explain two books. The one is Harry Potter and the other is Learning XML. So one is of category children and the other is of the category web. So web as in it's a learning skill set. Author, the year it was published, and what is the price. This is the data which you transfer. XML was originally used for transporting data, but then we may use it for something else. You never know. Let's see what we use it for later in UI5. All I need to explain you here is that there is an opening tag bookstore, so there is an closing tag bookstore. There is an opening tag book, so there is also an opening closing tag book. There is again title, it ends with the title. Okay. And sometimes you may also have, let's say you don't have an author. You don't have an author for the book. So it's not possible, but let's say you don't have an author. So you simply write it like this, author with a backslash. So it says that this tag is blank. It doesn't has any data. So let's see where you can validate your XML. I use this website, xmlgrid.net. So you see, there are many other websites which you can use. It's not necessary that only this is the website which you have to use. Okay. Go to Google and find any XML formatter, beautifier, or XML validator. Okay. This website is my favorite, personal favorite. When I try to put any XML code over here, give me a moment. It's not giving a good format. That's always a pain with the PPT. PowerPoint is always a pain in that way. Okay, here we go. There is only one left. This, I don't like it. Bookstore. Copy. And then when I try to put it over here on the xmlgrid.net and submit, so it gives an syntax error. I don't know what syntax error I have made here. It says line 1, column 6, 1. Am I missing on something over here? I don't know. Still giving an error. Okay, let me try to find a good XML on W3 schools. It's just to show you how it is. HTML and XML is about today. Okay, you can what do you say? You can simply try to learn as much as possible on this website, w3schools.com. Okay, here we go. Now it worked. And when you go to text view, it will give you a nice view of what you have written up there. You go to grid view, it gives you what exactly it was, a tabular format this website gives you. And it says well-formed XML. I don't know what error I made in the in this XML. I need to check it. I really don't understand what's the problem here. So this is how you can validate your XML, whether it is well formed or not. And that's it from UI5 perspective. You should know what is a body in HTML. You should know what is a script in HTML. You should know how to validate an XML. Your XML, when you say it consists of a data, or maybe it will have some other information, you need to ensure that the opening tags are closed as well. You just cannot, just cannot say that tags are not closed. So I guess we are running off the time. What is the assignment? Let's see it. Keep practicing HTML and forming XMLs. The XMLs with data form can be validated online using xmlgrid.net. HTML and XML, you can keep on, you can keep on practicing as much as possible. We will move forward, and maybe tomorrow, or I'll communicate with you when the next session is. We will be covering the other JavaScript, JSON, and so on. Once we are done with prerequisites, only then can I jump to SAP UI5 team. That's how it works. Otherwise, if I try to give you the whole food, okay, and then what you say? If I try to give you the whole food, but then not the basic ingredients in it, eventually you will end up saying that I don't know what is this made up of, you know. So we are trying to cover very basic stuff at the earlier stage, and then moving on, we will slowly proceed to other, to the actual UI5 when we'll start developing. Okay, that's all for today. That's all for HTML and XML perspective. Later sessions can be big, can be small, depends. Okay, I hope it was clear about the HTML and XML. I'll be stopping the recording now. Okay, and maybe you can ask your